This brings us now to the new mental diet. And the new mental diet is a more detailed, in-depth plan for reprogramming your mind.
You're about to hear a life-changing speech from Brian Tracy. Relax, take notes, and watch this entire video so you don't miss anything that can have a huge impact on your life.
We say that the power of suggestion works on you continually. What does that mean? It means that every single element in your external world has an influence on you, positive or negative. You can have somebody call you up and curse you, and you can be angry and frustrated in a second. You can have somebody call you up and compliment you, and you'll be happy for the rest of the evening. The power of suggestion, 1 or 2 seconds. One person could cut you off in traffic and wave at you with one finger, and you can be mad for the next 3 hours. Somebody else can drive past you, an old friend, and wave and say, "Hi, how you doing?" You'll be happy for the next 3 hours. We are very amenable to suggestion, positive or negative, so we have to take control of our subconscious mind. We have to take control of our suggestive environment. Everything you allow to influence your thinking affects your subconscious mind, positive or negative. Everything counts. Every input you allow helps or hurts. Nothing is neutral. Nothing is neutral. I listen to educational CDs all the time, and it's amazing. Sometimes I'll be listening to a CD and I'll hear one idea that is almost like a whole new business opportunity. One idea, one insight from one smart speaker, not myself in this case, but other people will have something that is, geez, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that idea. That idea, combined with some other things I've been working on, that's a perfect idea. And sometimes it can take your life in a whole new direction. So the new mental diet, too, the steps for reprogramming your mind. First of all, feed your mind healthy mental food, just like you would feed your body healthy physical food. Is the law of accumulation says that everything you do, positive or negative, accumulates. They say that nothing is ever wasted. So if you take in positive material, it accumulates. If you take in negative material, it accumulates as well. And when you begin to make changes, you will not see a huge result. But as you keep working, accumulation will grow and grow. Is read 1 hour per day. Read 1 hour and underline. I am quite amazed. Many people went to school and they were told don't mark up the books because people, subsequent students will need them. So I always carry 2 pens, blue or red. My kids say, "Dad, have you got a pen?" I say, "Blue or red?" Blue or red. Red is for writing certain things, blue is for writing certain things, red is for underlining. I never read anything, not a magazine, not a book, not anything, but that I don't underline and mark and close up. Because when you read it and then you reread it and underline it, you double the amount of it that you memorize. And sometimes, remember, it's all being memorized, and sometimes a week or a month later, you'll remember something that you read, a critical fact or statistic. People are always saying, where do you get all those statistics and numbers? I read all the time. I read and I underline and I think about how that number might be helpful. So read 1 hour per day. 1 hour per day of reading for 2 to 3 years will make you an authority on your subject. Whatever field you're in, an hour a day will make you an authority. An hour per day will be about 1 book a week. 1 book a week will be 50 books a year. 50 books a year will give you the equivalent of a PhD in any subject that you choose. Whether it's medieval European history or Japanese haiku or marketing. You'll have the equivalent of a PhD by reading 50 books. By reading an hour a day. And where do you get an hour a day? Well, the best is to read first thing in the morning. But other than that, carry the book around with you. And read a little bit in the morning, read a little bit at noon, read a little bit in the evening. Get your hour each day. You'll be absolutely astonished. And the things that you read, I met a good friend of mine who was working at a bank. He was making $35,000 a year. And I told him, you've got to start reading every day. And he argued with me because it was not his worldview. Nobody in his family read. He said, I know what I need to know. And I just saw him in Memphis the other day at a seminar, and he said, I still remember when you kept telling me I've got to read every day. I still remember that. And he said, because it changed my life. His income went from $35,000 within 3 years to $350,000 a year. He said he attributed it all to the things he learned. Whenever he met with a business person anywhere, he knew more than they did about their subject because he was so well read. He still reads voraciously. He said he increased his income 10 times in 3 years. Just by reading an hour every day in his field. So he kept getting new ideas. And read the best stuff in your field. Ask what's the best stuff. Ask the top people what they're reading. Read the reviews. Go online and read the reviews. Get the stuff with the most stars. Get the stuff that's been the bestseller. If it becomes a bestseller, or even better, if it goes into paperback, it means that it's been a bestseller in hardcover. And so that's what you need. People say, what should you read? Well, what is your need? What is your specialization? What is it that you want to be better at? That's what you should read. 3 to 5 years of reading will make you an expert. 5 to 7 years will make you an international authority. You'll be one of the top people in the field. They'll put your house on the bus, on the tour bus route. 20 minutes will follow you around with cameras. They'll be calling you from Fox News for your opinion on the issues of the day relative to what you do in an hour a day for 7 years. It's quite amazing. You'll become one of the foremost experts in the world on your subject if you read an hour a day. Now, people say, geez, that's 7 years of reading before I'm a world expert. Geez, that's a long time. Well, I'll be 7 years older. I'll be 37 or 42. I say, well, how much older will you be in 7 years in any case? How much older will you be in 7 years? 7 years from now, 7 years will have passed. The question is, where will you be in 7 years? Will you still be average, or will you be one of the highest paid and most respected people in your field in the world today? The choice is up to you, and there's nothing that stops you. It's very much like climbing a ladder. You just climb it one step at a time, one chapter at a time, one book at a time, one idea at a time, and the cumulative effect is extraordinary. You become a totally different person. Now, you can join the top 1% in the nation simply by reading one educational book per month in your field. You don't have to read a book a week, and just read one good book a month and underline it and jot down ideas on 3x5 index cards that you can use to, like this, that you can use to carry around with you. Just jot down the ideas. Number 4, listen to audio programs in your car. Again, we talked about this before, is turn your car into a university on wheels, a classroom, a mobile classroom. Because the average person who drives spends an average of 500 to 1,000 hours per year in their car. I've been quite astonished how many hundreds, thousands of hours of audio listening I've gone through over the years. It's just quite amazing, driving to the office and driving to the airport and going out for dinner, always only when I'm alone. I never listen when I'm with someone else. But it's astonishing. You just literally churn through enormous amounts of material if you just learn all the time you're traveling. The best people I know in this area don't even know if their radio works because they never listen to it. They don't drive around listening to music, which we call chewing gum, for the ears. They just simply learn all the time they're traveling. And when you're listening to audios, you hear a good idea, stop it. And think about the idea. Turn it over in your mind like you would turn over something in an antique shop to look at it from all sides. Turn that idea over in your mind and then start again and turn it over. If you want to listen to it, play back, listen to it again, just keep turning these ideas. And one idea can change your whole life. I'll give you an example. Guy Kawasaki, the expert from Apple Computer, was speaking at our conference last Monday. And he spoke for about 90 minutes, which was a little bit over his 45-minute limit. And he's a great guy, but I listened to an audio CD interview of him about 18 months ago, and he runs a sort of a business incubator in Santa Clara, Silicon Valley, where he works with small businesses. Anyway, he was being interviewed, what's the key to business success? And they were talking about marketing and everything else. And he stopped and he said, well, you know, the real key to business success is to have a great product in the first place. That's 90%. If you've got the great product, well, then all the details will fit into place. And I was thinking, that's such a good idea. You know, isn't it true? Is that every business that is successful is built on a great product and everything else is secondary? So then I started thinking, well, great product. But to have a great product, you've got to have great management and great leadership. And you've got to have a great business plan, and you have to have a great marketing plan and a great sales plan and a great customer service plan. So I wrote a book, and the book is called Now Build a Great Business, 7 Ways to Maximize Your Profits in Any Market. And the book came out, became a New York Times, not New York Times, but Wall Street Journal #2 bestseller, #1 in 4 categories on Amazon, and is now in 4 languages. Now, it took about a year from the idea to the book, and the book has now been recorded and it's now being distributed worldwide on audio CD and on download, and we have built seminars around it, and people have literally generated millions of dollars in their businesses by using these principles, by one idea. 90% of business success is having a great product in the first place. But remember I said before you do anything, you have to do something else first. So you have to have a good business plan, you have to have good management, you have to have good people, and you have to have good marketing and so on. But that's the idea. One idea like that you pick up somewhere can change the whole direction of your life. But here's what I have found, is you never know where the idea or when the idea is going to come. You never know the source. So what you have to do is you have to keep feeding your mind with lots of ideas. You keep feeding them, keep reading lots of stuff, and keep listening to lots of programs, and keep associating and talking to lots of good people, because you never know where the idea is just going to fall out. Remember, the greater number of ideas you expose yourself to, the greater likelihood it is that you'll expose yourself to the one idea that will change your life and make you rich. Many people have become rich by one idea that just fell in their lap after they decided to become rich. So we say here is 500, listen to audio programs, 500 to 1,000 hours in your car is the equivalent of 12 and a half to 25 40-hour weeks. Imagine your boss said, look, I want to give you 25 weeks off a year to study to become better. Okay, 25 weeks off a year. Would you think that would help you? Next is 25 40-hour weeks is equivalent to 1 to 2 university semesters. That's the equivalent of almost full-time university attendance. Now here's the difference though. With audio learning, you're learning only practical things you can learn immediately. Because if you're not, stop listening. Never listen to audio learning on a subject that is of no direct concern to you. Only listen to things that can help you immediately. And if you take university courses, much of what they teach in university is theoretically correct, but functionally useless. In other words, you can't apply it. It's just really interesting stuff, and it is true, but it has no effect on your work or on your results. So with an audio program, you can actually learn much more than university attendance because you're only learning material that you can apply immediately. And so constantly learning transforms your life. I had a young guy who came back to my course after something like 2 years. When he went to the course, and I've had this story all over the world, by the way. When he went to the program, he was living at home, driving a junker, and barely getting by. And he had to go home at the break and borrow the money from his mother to come back to the seminar and buy 6 of my audio programs. He said, when I came to my seminar 18 months later, his income had gone up 500%. He said he had a new car, he had a new apartment, he was one of the top producers in his business, he had transformed his life completely. And I've heard that story thousands of times. I got your audio programs, that's all I did from then on. Instead of listening to the radio, I just listened to the programs over and over and started over again. One person told me recently he must have listened to that program on selling 50 times. And now he makes more than $1 million a year, and he was struggling and living at home when he started listening. So, there's nothing that can so profoundly change your life than learning how to become really good at what you do. And fortunately, all the answers have been found. All the answers are already there. All the answers are in the books and the CDs and the courses. You don't have to spend years of struggle to learn it yourself. It's all there, and it's usually there, inexpensively, immediately available, and sometimes you can just listen to one thing on the way home that will change your business. So, we say take additional courses and seminars. Take a minimum of 4 seminars each year. Most people, when they leave school, they say, thank heavens this is over. I'll never read another book as long as I live. And they're 45 years old and they've never read a book or been to a seminar. And they can't understand why their life is going nowhere. Well, basically their life is just in a backwater because they're not growing. Remember we said 7 truths about you? One truth is your life only gets better when you get better. If you're not getting better, how can your life get better? And the world is full of people who actually want to believe a complete fantasy. They want to believe that their life is going to get better, but they don't have to get better. I know what they'll do. They'll spend some money on a get-rich-quick scheme, and that will solve all their problems. And so they borrow money on their credit cards and buy get-rich-quick stuff, and they find that stuff just sits there dead, like an inert substance, and they didn't get rich. So what do? Is they take a deep breath, and 2 months later they go and buy another get-rich-quick scheme, and then one more get-rich-quick scheme. And they don't understand that unless you change yourself totally, nothing works. But if you do change yourself totally, everything starts to work for you. So take a minimum of 4 seminars a year. Practice. Remember, practical knowledge is power. Learn from experts in your field. Learn from the experts in your field. Some years ago, after I had read his 4 books, Kopmeyer, a man who spent 54 years studying success, made millions of dollars as a businessman, business owner, and consultant, studied success and came up with 1,000 success principles. And he put these into 4 books, 250 success principles per book. Each principle was explained in 1 or 2 pages. And he took these books and they sold 44 million copies in something like 50 languages back in the 60s, 50s and 60s before our time. I bought the books. They've been out of print for decades now. And I also listened to the audio program because a friend of mine, Ty Boyd, recorded the entire program. It was 16 2-hour-long or 40 hour-and-a-half long cassettes. So I listened to it hour after hour after hour. And as life would have it, I am sitting in a small food fair cafe in Washington, D.C., and an old man with his obviously his assistant comes by the table, and I've got the only table in the place that has spare chairs. It's lunchtime, the place is packed, and I'm sitting at a table for 4 by myself. So I got up and I said, "Excuse me, sir, please sit down and join me. I've got lots of room here." He said, "No, I wouldn't want to disturb you." No, it's no problem. Please sit down. We've got lots of room here. We have to share. And so he and his assistant, nice young woman, sat down and we began talking. It was Kopmeyer. I said, "Geez," I said, "I've read all your stuff. I've listened to it all on cassettes. It's really wonderful stuff." And I said, so we began talking. He said, "Thank you very much." He was very flattered. He's about 89 years old at that time. He died very shortly afterwards. He wanted me to take over his work, and I never did. By the end of the luncheon, he wanted me to take over his work because we got along so well. Anyway, so then I asked him a question that you would ask me if you had been there. "Mr. Kopmeyer, of all of these 1,000 success principles that you've discovered, what's the most important principle you ever discovered?" And he smiled and he beamed. He had this old look, and he beamed as if he'd heard the question 1,000 times. And he said, "Brian," he said, "the most important success principle I ever learned is learn from the experts." And he said, "Brian, you'll never live long enough to learn it all for yourself. Learn from those who've already learned it. Go and ask them. Read their books. Listen to their programs. Phone them up if you need advice, and they'll give you advice. Learn from the experts. Say, who's the best expert in this field? Who's the most successful person in the field in which I want to succeed? And go to that person one way or another and ask for their advice, and they'll give it to you." And you know something? They always will. The top people in every field will always help others who want to be successful. He said it's the most important principle I learned in life. And I pass it on to you when you go to seminars. By the time a seminar is available to you, it's being taught by somebody who's got years and years of experience, who's invested hundreds or thousands of hours in learning that material, and you can get it all in a couple of days and save yourself all those years of hard work. Number 6, get around the right people. This is another way of totally transforming your thinking. Your choice of a reference group determines 95% of your success or failure in life. Now, a reference group, according to Dr. David McClelland of Harvard, a reference group are the people that you identify with, that you say, "These are people like me. These are people like me." And so when we're young, our first reference group is our family. As we get older, our reference group are the ones we hang out with at school. As we get a little older, our reference group is our first job. When we go to college, our reference group is other university students. Today, you know, most of people who go to college, we have some college graduates here, about 90% of what you learn has no practical impact. And 80% of people who graduate from college will be doing something completely different than their area of specialization within 2 years, and they'll never go back. So college is a very, very expensive place to go. And it takes a lot of time. And most people who are in college do a lot of partying. Most of the time, the whole first year, they're drunk. The second year, they sober up. The third year, they start to concentrate. The fourth year of their 4-year degree, they realize they're not going to make it in 4. So most people are taking 5 years to get 4-year degrees. And by the time they leave, they've had a great time. The average college student forgets 80 to 90% of what they learned within 30 days of their final exams. Our methods of teaching today are primitive to the quick caveman drag knuckles along the ground level. These people forget everything. Do you know how you could clear out all the colleges and universities in America? It's 30 days after final exams, say, "We've had a computer glitch, we've lost all of your exam results. You have to come in today. This is 9 o'clock in the morning. You must be in today to rewrite." And every single person who came in would fail flat. They wouldn't get more than 20% on their exams because in 30 days they've forgotten everything. And anybody who's been to college knows what I'm talking about. By the time 30 days is over, you've blotted it out of your mind forever. So why do we go to college? Because in college you form a reference group. You form a reference group of other bright young people who are ambitious, who have goals, who are there to learn things so that they can have a career and they can do stuff. And forever after, you see yourself as a college graduate. You see yourself as a person who, and you can relate to any college graduate. You went to Harvard, I went to UCSD. I went to University of Southern California at San Diego. So what? You're a graduate? I'm a graduate. We're graduates. We're Harvard. We're college graduates. So your whole mindset is that you have a really good mind that you have demonstrated and proven in reading and studying exams. So you forget everything you ever learned, but your self-concept is fixed for life. For the rest of your life, you know you're a college graduate. You know you can start courses and you can complete them. You know you can learn stuff that you need to learn. You know you can do stuff that you want to do. You know that you can persist and discipline yourself to get through the courses and the final exams. The whole purpose, in my estimation, of college is to develop that mindset. And those of us who did not go to college, I eventually did, not go to college, always have felt uncomfortable with college grads because they seem to have some, as the French say, je ne sais quoi. They seem to have this je ne sais quoi, this kind of something about them that people who didn't graduate from college don't have. So your reference group is really, really important. When you go to work, your reference group are your work team. Your reference group are the people you socialize with, the people that you go to church with, the people in your political party who believe the same way you are. So your choice of a reference group determines 95% of your success because you always strive to act like your reference group. If you're growing up in the inner cities and your reference group is people who run dope and steal and everything else, that's your reference group. Your goal is to be respected by them by being really good at stealing and running dope. So it's very hard to escape that kind of a background if that's your reference group. Interesting thing that happens, by the way, in the inner cities, they'll often get a person who's committed a crime and they will say to them, the judge will say, either you go into the army or you go to jail. What's it going to be? This is quite standard in the inner cities. You know, you finished high school, you may not have learned much, but they'll take you in the army. And so the person says, I'll go in the army. And they go in the army and they go through basic training and they go through training and they are taught discipline and taught to dress and taught how to make their beds and taught how to brush their teeth and they're taught how to do their jobs and they're taught how to march and to get organized and disassemble things and put things together. 4 years after a person goes into the army, a completely irresolute, hopeless, loser, street kid comes out, and this person is straight and strong and self-disciplined and clean and sharp and focused and knowledgeable and confident. You know what I'm talking about? Is they've transformed his self-concept in the army. And from that point on, this person goes on to do wonderful things with his life. And he looks back and he said, whoa, I dodged a bullet. If I hadn't gone into the army, I'd be back there dead on the street with my friends. But they changed his self-concept by changing his inputs and his suggestive environment and his reference group for 4 solid years. So it's so important. When you start to associate with better, more successful people, you start to become like them and think like them and feel like them and walk and talk and dress and act like they do. So these are the people you identify with. So fly with eagles, we say, form mastermind alliances. Get together on a regular basis with other positive, ambitious, goal-oriented people and share ideas with them. Napoleon Hill, in his years and years and years of studying of success, found that it was the formation of mastermind alliances that transformed people's lives. Once they had formed a mastermind alliance, they were completely different for the rest of their lives. So pick positive people you admire and get together with them once a week to share ideas. When we were doing our coaching programs, we'd say, look, this coaching program is a mastermind program because you're put at a table with people earning pretty much the same amount you are, so you can share ideas about how to build your businesses. But when you go home, form masterminds. And this one gentleman came back, a very smart guy. He went home and he said, I would like to form masterminds with top business people. So he called up the head of a large car dealership, the head of a large insurance agency, the head of a large furniture dealership, the head of a large manufacturing company. He said, I'm forming a mastermind here in Cincinnati, and I would like you to join. And we want to get together once a week and talk about ideas to help us grow our businesses. All 4 said, I'm in. Pick the time and date and we'll be there. And so he invited them all to meet at a Denny's for breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning. They were all there. They spent 2 hours talking about how they could build their business and what books they'd read and how the economy was affecting them and so on. And they did this. He'd done this. There were 3 months between coaching sessions. He did this for the first month and it was just smoking. He thought, wait a minute, I could have more than 1 mastermind session. So he called 4 more senior business people. All 4 said, I'm in. Never talked to them before. Complete strangers. They all joined his mastermind. So now he said, I've got 2 masterminds going. And I meet with them, one on Monday and one on Thursday, one for breakfast, one for lunch. And we get there and we just talk about how we can make our businesses better. And we share ideas and things that we've read and so on. Getting together in masterminds will double, triple, 5 or 10 times the speed at which you achieve your goals. Because the rule is you can't do it by yourself. And one person who's from a different business may say, why don't you do this? And your whole life will be different thereafter. Now, are masterminds going to fall on you? No, you have to form them yourself. The very best mastermind, by the way, is a husband and wife who are really well attuned. That's the really good mastermind. But then your staff can be your mastermind. You sit together and just brainstorm for an hour each week on how you can do your business better. Or people in related industries or people in different industries. But mastermind, according to Napoleon Hill, the greats, the Goodriches, the Mellons, the Henry Fords, the Firestones, these people did not begin to achieve greatness until they began to mastermind together. They were brought together by people like J.P. Morgan, brought these people together to sit in his boardroom and just talk about ideas, and all of their industries began to grow. Pick positive people you admire, okay? The new mental diet, there are 2 times during the day when your subconscious is most open to new information. The first is at nighttime, just before you fall asleep. Now, that's why it's very important to write out your goals before you go to bed. If you write out your goals before you go to bed, and I'll teach you how to do that tomorrow, then what happens is your mind works on your subconscious mind works on your goals all night long. And in the morning, you'll wake up with great ideas. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night with an idea that's fantastic to achieve your goals that you can then implement the next day. So just before you fall asleep, write down your goals. But as you fall off to sleep, think about your goals. Visualize your goals as complete. Imagine your goals. Think about success. Just feed your mind with this picture and the feeling of your goals succeeded, just as you fall off to sleep. It's as good as a sleeping pill, by the way, because it calms you down completely. The second thing is in the morning, the first hour after you wake up. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is most amenable to new suggestions. So if you review your goals in the morning, if you think about your day and visualize your day in the morning, if you read something really helpful in the morning, Henry Ward Beecher, a great teacher, once said that the first hour is the rudder of the day. The first hour is the rudder of the day. So what you do in the first hour actually sets you up for the whole day. If you get up in the morning and drink coffee and watch television and read death and disaster and murder and rape and corruption and bribery, and that's just the political part of the newspaper, if you do that in the morning, what happens is you're set up for the day with negativity. I say it's the difference between drinking a glass of fresh orange juice and drinking a glass of crankcase oil. If you drink fresh mental orange juice, then you're set up for the whole day. And so therefore, the first thing you do in the morning is read something uplifting. Read something positive. Read something that makes you happy. I say read something educational, motivational, or spiritual. First thing in the morning. It sets you up for the day. You'll be more creative and more positive all day long. And then loop back to the newspapers later, if you must. Get up and repeat several times, I feel terrific. I was talking to Jack Canfield a couple of days ago, and I was telling him I get up every morning and I say, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel terrific. And I said, that's W. Clement Stone. He said, absolutely. Power, not the power of positive thinking, but what is W. Clement Stone's book? A great book, and it was called... But anyway, he would get up every morning and say, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel terrific. And everybody would have to come into the office and they would all chant 50 times, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel terrific. They'd have these cheerleading sessions. And everybody, by the time they finished, was so pumped. They went out there and they sold billions of dollars worth of life insurance. He built one of the most successful companies in the world, Combined Insurance Company of America. So Power Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone, that's what it was. And read for 30 to 60 minutes, the golden hour. Read during the golden hour to feed your mind and say, how would I like my day to be? And read something that is healthy mentally, that is consistent with how you want your day to be. And then review your goals every morning. These are the keys to starting your day off right. So you feel healthy, you feel happy, you feel terrific. You like yourself and you love your work. And you read positive material. And this may sound hokey, but if I said to you, get up in the morning and do really good physical exercise and then eat a healthy physical breakfast, and it'll be good for you for the whole day, you would not argue with that. This kind of stuff that sounds hokey for your mind is even more important. Because you can get up in the morning and forget to exercise and eat a lousy breakfast, but if you feed your mind with great stuff, it'll have a positive effect all day long. So an important part of mental programming is to discard past labels. Remember, William James of Harvard said, as I see myself now, as I was in the past, my past must resurrect itself and become my future. So in other words, if you think of yourself now like you were in the past, it's exactly as if you were doing it again now, and your subconscious mind records that this is how you want to behave in the future. So when people tag you with a label from the past, you say, like, you're never on time. You say, in the past, I was late for meetings, but now I'm always punctual. In the past I was, but now I am. You always eat lousy food. In the past, I ate lousy food, but now I eat healthy food. And you never use your time well. In the past, I didn't manage my time well, but now I do. In the past, I was, but now I am. And it just cancel. Just cancels anything in the. If you think of yourself in a negative way from the past, always cancel it. Say, yes, in the past, I was. But remember, that was a different person. That was a person then. This is me today. This is a new person. This person does it this way. When you make a mistake, you respond with, next time I'll do it this way. Next time I'll do it that way. You make a mistake, you say, darn, next time I'll start earlier. Darn, next time I'll plan more in advance. Darn, next time I'll call to confirm. In other words, whenever you make a mistake, always say, next time I'll do it this way. And what that does, it cancels the mistake, forces you to face the future, and the future is always bright. You can accelerate your new programming when you teach what you know to others who are interested. This is a wonderful way. Remember, you become what you say to yourself, you become what you think about, you become what you teach. And the more you teach people these ideas, the more you internalize them. You become what you teach. A proven way to speed up your mental programming is to express an attitude of confident expectations. Always be confident. Everything's going to work out fine. Don't worry. It'll be all right. We'll be there. We'll be fine. It'll work out. Something will happen. You notice there are people like this in your life that you want to punch because they're not being realistic, like you. And something always happens for these people. Because an attitude of confident expectations is the mental chemical catalyst that causes extraordinary things to happen. The more positive you are, the more confidently you expect that things will work out, the faster they work out. So become an inverse paranoid. Now, do you know what a paranoid is? A paranoid is a person that is convinced there's a conspiracy to get them. All right? An inverse paranoid is a person who's convinced that there's a conspiracy to make you successful. Everything that's happening in your life is part of a big plan to make you a big success. So therefore, you look into every reversal and you say, there's another lesson that I can learn that will make me successful in the future. Or look for the good in everything that happens. Have this attitude that everything that's happened, every mistake, every failure you've ever had in your life was sent to you as a gift to help you to be successful. My old friend Norman Vincent Peale used to say, when God wants to send you a gift, he wraps it up in a problem. And the bigger the gift that God wants to send you, the bigger the problem he wraps it up in. Now, I know that many of you feel that it's like Christmas Day at your house right now with all the gifts wrapped up all over the place. But the negative person always looks the gift horse in the mouth. They always look at it and say, why should this happen to me? The positive person, when they have a reversal, says, what can I learn from this that will help me to be better in the future? What can I learn that will help me to be better? What is the lesson that's been sent to me as a gift to help me to be successful? Somebody was talking about my book, Many Miles to Go, which is my story about crossing the Sahara. And it's a great book. It's in all over the world. Many people really like it. And I remember in crossing the Sahara, I had every difficulty, and it's written in this book. My car broke down over and over. I got dysentery. I got sunstroke. I almost died in the desert. I had every single conceivable problem. And in retrospect, I look back and I realized that if I had not had all of those problems, I would have died in the desert. I would not have been prepared. I would not have done all the setup. I would not have had the gasoline or the food or the water. I would have died in the desert. Every single problem, which was a major setback for me at the time and for my friends, every single problem, in retrospect, saved our life. If we had not had the problem, we would have died. We did not realize that it was an 800-mile stretch of desert. And once we had gone into the desert, no one would ever come after us. And if we had not been prepared, we would have died. And so for the rest of my life, I realized that when you have a major setback or difficulty, it's being sent to you as a gift. As long as your goal is clear, it's a gift. It's a lesson to help you to succeed. It is not a stumbling block. It is a stepping stone to success. So look for the good in everything that happens. The big lie theory. Now, the big lie theory says if you repeat any statement over and over again often enough, even the most intelligent person will come to believe it. They say that there are some things so ridiculous that only academics can believe them. We had a situation not far from our home where there was this cult of fairly well-educated people, doctors, lawyers, dentists, engineers, well-paid business owners, and they were convinced by this couple that this couple had some great insight into the cosmos and that Halley's Comet was coming, and that if you did not hook on to the end of Halley's Comet, the world would be destroyed and you would be dead forever. But if you hooked on to the end of Halley's Comet, which you would do immediately after you had taken the poison and died, you would hook on to Halley's Comet and it would take you to heaven. There were about 79 of them. Was that the number? This group in Rancho Santa Fe, and it was just down the street from us. I mean, within driving distance. These people gathered. They came from all over the United States and Canada, and they all got there, and they all believed this because they told them over and over, when the comet comes, the way we hook onto the tail is we all lock arms and drink this poison, and the comet will pick us up and take us into heaven. And they all did. The entire gang, including the two conspirators, or the two cult leaders, and they all killed themselves. And the police went there, they could not believe it. This was it was condominium, but no matter how large the condominium, 79 dead bodies takes up a lot of space. They tried to sell that place for 10 years, by the way. Oh, they said, why has this place been on the market for so long? And the real estate agents would go, oh, no, 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 no. And then they'd check it on Google, and oh my God, this was the scene of the mass suicide. Because these people, because repeating it over and over again, these were very intelligent people, which people were just shocked at this. They all believed it so much that they all killed themselves in a group. So it's possible for people to believe absolutely preposterous things if they are repeated over and over again. However, the benefit of this, and this is the basis of all propaganda that is used by major churches, all propaganda used by communist parties, Nazi party, and so on, but there's what we call the big truth theory. The big truth theory is the opposite of this, and it says you can be, have, or do anything you want if you want it badly enough and are willing to make the effort. This is the big truth theory, and here's what we found. And this, again, is one of the great breakthrough thoughts, so it's important that I illustrate it. Okay. The great truth says that when you decide that you want to double your income or lose weight or start your own business or become financially prosperous, and you decide it because of your natural skepticism and your natural negativity and all the experiences you've had in the past that have caused you to be doubtful, to question whether it's possible, you'll have a big D for disbelief. The D will be disbelief. I don't believe it. Reject it. Not possible. And you'll think of all the reasons. You want it. It would be nice, but you'll disbelieve it. So let's say you say, let's say you're earning $50,000 a year now, and you start saying, I earn $100,000 a year. Disbelief. Kick out. I earn $100,000 a year. I earn $100,000. I write it down. I earn $100,000 a year. And you think about it. I earn $100,000 a year. And I take my whole family to Disneyland, and we go to Paris. I earn $100,000 a year. Each time you say it, you'll disbelieve it. But as you keep repeating the big truth theory, the D begins to decline. You begin to believe it less and less. You keep saying it over and over, and you disbelieve it, and you disbelieve it, and you disbelieve it, and you disbelieve it, and you disbelieve it. But the D becomes smaller, and you disbelieve it, and you disbelieve it, and then you reach this point right here, and then something happens. Like you get a raise, or you get an idea, or you get a promotion, or something happens with a new product, and you start thinking, hey, and you're making more money. You're thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this. Maybe it is possible. And it's kind of a scary thought, and you start to develop a little B of belief. Little tiny B. You believe it, maybe there's a 1 chance in 100 that I could do it. And then you keep repeating, I earn $100,000 a year. I earn $100,000 a year. I earn $100,000 a year. And you begin to believe it more and more. And you begin to believe it more and more. You begin to believe it more and more. And you begin to believe it. And as you keep repeating, I earn $100,000, your belief starts to grow and grow until you reach the point in a certain period of time where your belief is just as great and as deeply entrenched as your disbelief. And at that point, it starts to materialize quickly in your life. Zig Ziglar tells a story about this guy who weighed about 350 pounds. And he started to do this, and he'd say, I weigh 200 pounds. I weigh 200 pounds, which is his ideal weight. And he would say, I weigh 200 pounds. I weigh 200 pounds. And he'd visualize 200 pounds. I weigh 200 pounds. I weigh 200 pounds. And gradually started to lose weight. He started to walk a little bit more, which is hard for a big person like that. And he started to eat a little bit better. And his weight went down from 350 pounds to 340 pounds to 330 pounds to 320 pounds. And he's making progress. And he keeps saying, I weigh 200 pounds, I weigh 200 pounds. And one day he's out at the supermarket and he's buying groceries. And he hears this voice. And it's a little boy. And the little boy is saying to his mother, Mommy, come and look at the fat man. And he said he turned around to see what they're talking about. He said, who are they talking about? Because he's already still 320 pounds, but he's looking around. Because who's the fat man? Who? Because he'd already convinced himself he weighed 200 pounds. When they said, look at the fat man, what fat man? Where is he? Because it wasn't him. He was already in his mind 200 pounds and went on to lose all the weight. So when you repeat these over and over again, when you affirm and you visualize and you read and so on, you start to believe. First of all, you believe it'll disbelieve, 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 and then you start to believe and believe. And once you reach this point, it starts to materialize in your life. It just starts to come true for you. Now, many people are lazy. So what they will do is they will take a couple of runs at it, and they'll do it for a couple of weeks, and they'll think a couple of weeks of affirming is going to change an entire lifetime of performance and results. And so they'll give it up, and they'll say it doesn't work. Sometimes they'll look at it, and they say it doesn't work, and they won't even try it. They say, oh, yeah, that stuff doesn't work. How do you know? I heard that stuff a year ago. Did you ever try it? No, I never tried it, but I knew it doesn't work. You're wasting your time. It won't work. And so they'll try to discourage you from doing it. So it's really important. The big truth theory is you can be and have anything you want. Anything you can hold in your mind on a continuing basis, you can have. Anything you can hold in your mind on a continuing basis, you can have. There are no limits. The great test is this. Remember I said that desire is the critical thing? The great test is how badly do you want it? How badly do you want it? And if you can hold it in your mind continuously and visualize it and affirm it and think it, then because of all of the mental laws we've talked about, it starts to materialize very much like a Polaroid photograph. If you remember Polaroid photographs, you take it and pull it out and it'll be black. And then the photograph would start to develop through the chemicals work on it, and pretty soon the picture is perfectly clear. It's the same thing. As you begin to work on it, it'll be completely black. There'll be no indication at all of achieving that goal, but at a certain point it'll start to appear and get clearer and clearer and clearer, and there it will be in your life. And this is how it works. Napoleon Hill, when he did his 22-year study of 500 wealthy people, his final conclusion was that people become wealthy because they develop a prosperity consciousness, is they simply think in terms of prosperity. And you cannot shake them and cause them to deviate from prosperity. They know that no matter what their situation is, they will be prosperous. And that is the most important thing. It is the mental equivalent of prosperity that you need to develop in order to be prosperous. You cannot have it on the outside until you have totally convinced yourself you can have it on the inside. And if you get it on the outside before you're totally convinced, it'll fall through your fingers. You'll just lose the money. You just will not have grown enough to be able to hold on to it.